All right. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be back with you guys again. This video is just going to be on the top 5 things on how to emotionally develop children, because I think that's something that we lack in schools, we lack in our households, we lack period. And we want to really make sure that we grow up to be, or our children or our nieces and our nephews, cousins of all sorts, grow up to be very decent and suitable human beings to go in the world and not be so broken. I know for myself, just to give you a little background, there was a lot of things that I didn't learn as a child on how to deal with my emotions and how to make myself stable. So I think it's really important that we just talk about those things, and we'll get right into it now. So the first thing that I think is the most important, because it resonates with me so much, is that you have to really speak positively to children. I've noticed just in my journeys of watching, observing, and studying behavioral psychology that a lot of times we don't speak to people in a positive way. We don't speak to ourselves in a positive way, and we don't speak to children in a positive way. In school, a lot of times children are shaken up a bit if a teacher says, no, that's not the right answer, stop asking too many questions, or that type of thing. I was in school and a lot of times they told me I asked too many questions, but I still have so many questions today, and people don't tell me, oh, you asked too many questions. But that stunted a lot of my growth and my learning as a child who, between the ages of, it's about 5 to 8 years old is when they really absorb a lot of information. And when you tell a child that they're not able to ask questions, or if your child is on the ride home with you and they're asking you questions, you really want to engage them. You want to see what type of questions they have. You want to explore their mind and where they go, because that is the time where they're really picking up how to mold and build themselves as an individual. And if you feel that you're not able to do it, because like I said, a lot of us work, a lot of us don't have that time to spend with children, then you should find some type of outlet to put your child in where they can ask questions, whether that be therapy. And I would suggest going to a child therapist, someone who actually deals and specializes with children, so that way they can connect and kind of guide them a little bit more. Examples of speaking positively to your child is when they're doing something that's great. You want to promote that. You want to highlight that for a child, so that way they know, like, when I did this, mommy said it was good. When I did this, auntie told me it was good. When I did this, Miss Susan told me it was good. You want to promote the positivity about no matter what role that you have with them. Even if you don't have children yourself, you were a child once, you are a human being, you're living, so you know what it's like when someone gives you a compliment, when someone makes you feel good. So that's the same thing you want to do emotionally, is make someone feel that what they're doing is correct. Number 2, you want to make sure that you're happy around them. A quote that really resonated with me was one that said, children don't need a perfect mom, they need a happy one. And that's highly important, because a lot of times we're not happy around our children. We're upset, we're stressed, we're all types of things, and these emotionally affect children. In my studies and in my observations, there was a young teenage girl, we're really emotional as teenagers, and she was feeling a lot of different ways, and her mom was just not there for her emotionally. And she just started crying. And when I went to go talk to her, she just had a lot of different questions about life, about her role in life, because I think we seem to forget that children are discovering the world just as we discover it as well, but in a different way. They need more guidance. And if you're feeling that you can't be happy, or you're having a moment, the best thing to do is take that moment outside, away from the child, so that they don't experience that, because children really just feed off of your energy. I mean, even my children, they'll tell me, oh, you're just so happy. What are you so happy about? And sometimes it's just life, and I want them to see that. I want them to be able to feel that from me as a parent, so they know, like, mommy is really happy most of the time, and that's super cool, so I can be happy. Number 3, that's really, really important too, is that we need to make sure that we're exercising with our children. Just like we need to exercise, just go out, even if it's just going to the park, or if it's just going outside in the backyard. Exercise with your children. Another habit that really goes well with exercise and that I've taken up is meditating with my children. My youngest son doesn't really care much because he's still a toddler, but my oldest son really enjoys the meditation. He even tells me afterwards how he feels. So it really lets me know that something is really moving him inside to feel better about himself. And he tells me how he talks to his different friends about how he's meditating and how they kind of react to it. And a lot of times these children are really interested in these type of things, but we don't think that they are because we're not talking to them. We're number one, not happy around them. We're number two, not speaking positively around them. And so they can't even get to the stage of like being open and informative with us with meditation. So that's really important. If you feel like you don't know how to meditate yourself, just take 2 to 5 minutes and just absolute silence. Don't do anything. Don't think about anything. Just focus on your breathing. And if you feel your mind not being focused on the breathing, then what you want to do is center yourself back to focus on the breathing. Anytime you get any type of distraction, just focus back on the breathing and allow your child to do the same thing and see what type of difference that makes. Just 2 to 5 minutes a day is all it really takes to really get started. So number 4 is allow children to have a creative space. This is another way that they develop emotionally, is allowing them to have a creative space. Now, of course, if your child is a toddler and they like do everything because they get into everything, you have to monitor that creative space, but give them a blank canvas to just do something. Like with a toddler, in that case, give them a blank piece of paper and give them crayons. They will figure out to color, use different colors on the paper, and then explore it, look at it, see what it means, see what they were trying to depict, because they're really happy when they show you these type of things. If you have older children that maybe are adolescents, between the ages of maybe 5 to 9 or 5 to 10, then you may just want to give them a journal to just write their thoughts down. If they're teenagers, they can still write thoughts down, maybe picking them out, letting them record a video, whatever your child's creative space is, find what they like to do. My son, actually, he likes to just build things, take things apart and rebuild them. So that's his creative space. He wants to find ways to do that. So if whatever your child expresses interest in, just make sure you give them that creative space to do that. And if you can't do it, but once a week, try to at least do it once a week. I would recommend 2 to 3 times a week because we all have those creative outlets that we need. So I would definitely recommend to do that. Now, number 5 is a really tough one for me to talk about because I don't want to offend and I don't want anybody to feel as if I am judging them as a parent or as any guardian that's dealing with a child. But discipline is a really big thing. So with us talking about the top 5 things to just emotionally sustain a child, discipline is very important. So when you're disciplining, the best thing I can tell you is to discipline with love. Discipline with love and discipline with corrective action, not so much highlighting everything that they have done wrong. And that kind of ties into speaking positively as well. But sometimes when it comes to disciplinary actions, we get a little sidetracked with actually just disciplining with love. So examples, if you're spanking your children, a lot of times they're not really getting the message of, oh, I shouldn't do this. They're getting the message that, oh, I don't want to get spanked anymore. Or if you put them on punishment by taking things away, they're getting the message of, oh, well, I don't want to get caught. Or, oh, I don't want to get my things taken away. So what can I do to not get them taken away without my parents knowing? We really want to just make sure that we're talking to the children. And if you're in a school setting, talk to the children when they're doing something. Like, I know for me, when I used to see people get in trouble, because I really didn't get in trouble and have to go to the counselor or principal's office like that, but the principals or the counselors would just be really just like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that, and this is why you should have done that, instead of just explaining to them like, hey, what do you think about the actions that you did? What do you think went wrong, and what do you think you could have done better to make it a more positive situation? A lot of times kids can work through their issues really seemingly without your help, but because we're adults, we should, intervene a little bit. But a lot of times they can really work through a lot of their challenges at those stages with the brain that has been given to them. So you just really want to try different alternative actions. Maybe allowing them to meditate is one option. Allowing them to just have a little quiet time. If it's not necessarily meditation, you can call it reflective time. Allowing them to reflect on themselves, allowing them to reflect on their actions and what they feel could have been done differently, and let them come to you and tell you about it. And that's when you kind of guide the conversation from there. So these are the top 5 things that I think really help with emotionally developing a child. I would love to hear you guys' comments and what you think as well, because I know we all have so many different things that we can kind of contribute to this subject. So as always, I appreciate you all watching. Thank you so much. And please stay tuned, like, subscribe, and share to all of the people that you think will be interested. And I'm so excited to talk with you all. Mwah!